to have you with us. Tuesday edition, Ed Schultz News and Commentary. So here's where we are. Got a lot to talk about today, but we're going to start with the GOP wanting the Justice Department to file charges against Hillary Clinton for perjury. They claim she lied. Apparently, there are people on the House Oversight Committee on the Republican side who are saying that her testimony to the FBI is different from the FBI report. I just don't think these damn email stories are going to go away anytime soon. And now you've got this backdrop of security and this backdrop of racial inequality in America, which has reared its ugly head again. Donald Trump is in Milwaukee today. Sean Hannity is fencing for him. But so is Governor Scott Walker, who got out of the race to make sure that Donald Trump would not get the nomination. Remember those days? He was one of the first ones out. He is now blaming Hillary Clinton for her comments about Milwaukee, saying that it's just inflaming the situation.
Well, I think comments like that are just inflaming the situation. I think people understand that in that neighborhood in Sherman Park and in Milwaukee, they want law enforcement to step up and protect them. The people who live in that neighborhood want police. They want the police in Milwaukee and the sheriff's department to step up and protect them. They don't want the criminals who were doing those actions against those businesses to do that. And I think statements like that and the lack of leadership we've had from the president on this issue only inflame the situation.
So there is a governor, a Republican from Wisconsin, who has cut education and other programs that has hurt minority communities. He's now going to be blaming it on another politician and saying that the police want to do things right, where they don't have the resources, the communities don't have the resources, the people know they're being shortchanged, and they're responding. Is it right? No. Is their method wrong? Yes. But this is what happens when you deprive communities the way Walker has deprived Milwaukee. And for him to be speaking for the people when you see actions like that, I find it really, really disgusting. Now, the question comes up about Donald Trump. He is there. We're going to have a live report from Manila Chan tonight in Milwaukee. He's meeting with the veterans and he's meeting with police officials. And I'm sure he, too, is going to blame everybody else for what's going on and not the infrastructure and the lack of resources to help those minority communities. And it's just another issue of being in denial. Now, Trump says that he, of course, is fighting the media and he is also fighting the GOP. He comes forward with his new surrogate, which is Sean Hannity, who says this.
Mike Pence said to me the other night that they're playing 2-on-1. The media is so in the tank, so on board for Hillary. They're so abusively biased. Right. I literally watched this show on CNN over the weekend, and you got this little pipsqueak named Brian Stelter, and he allowed this arrogant professor from the Kennedy School of Journalism to talk about Trump being a demagogue, and demagogues like Trump become dictators. That's the type of coverage that CNN offers in this presidential race, as they literally kiss Hillary Clinton's ass and Obama's ass every day.
Okay, well, how do you even the score on that? You be like Sean Hannity and you go host an event in Milwaukee for Donald Trump. It's amazing. Well, Trump was in Youngstown, Ohio yesterday, and he continues to hammer away on the issue of trade, and he's trying to warm up in a big, big way to all wage earners and sway them away from the Democratic platform and Democratic persuasion. Is it going to work? Let's go to Tim Ryan, Congressman from Ohio. Congressman, good to have you with us.
Good to be with you, Big Ed.
Now, that wasn't you I saw behind Trump in the video in Youngstown, was it? Must have been a different guy.
There's a lot of half Irish, half Italian guys that look like me in Youngstown, so don't worry about it. It was not me.
All right, I just wanted full disclosure here early on, but anyway. How you doing? What's happening in Ohio, and what kind of impact do you think Trump would have on your constituents there in Youngstown?
I think people are learning more about him, more about, what he's really like. And there's been a lot of TV ads running in Ohio, myself, Sherrod Brown, others, been trying to get the message out to the working class folks that, we're calling BS on this guy. And he talks about China, he talks about Mexico and trade, but, he makes his ties in China, makes his suits in Mexico and products in Bangladesh and Turkey and ships them back into the United States. So, his actions over the past few decades do not match his rhetoric today, And a lot of it's about how he's treated his workers, how he's treated those building and construction trade people in Atlantic City, and all those stories of him stiffing contractors and plumbers and pipe fitters and carpenters. That message is getting out now, and so I don't think he has nearly the momentum that he thought he had in Ohio, and the polls are bearing that out. Hillary's now up 5 in Ohio, last poll I saw.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about. Most of the polls have been within the margin of error. And Cheryl Atkinson, who's done some excellent reporting on surveys, says that anything that's within the margin of the error, in today's political world, when it comes to turnout and voter suppression and everything else, it is a toss-up. Do you sense that Ohio is a toss-up and there's a lot of work to be done there?
I think, we do have a lot of work to do, but I think it's leaning Hillary, excuse me, at this point. And the last poll was up 5, which was outside of the margin of error, and I think that's indicative of the trends, given her ad buys in Ohio and all the other work that we're doing. We have about 150 people or more on the ground between the Clinton campaign and the Ohio Democratic Party, and Trump has nothing at all in the form of a ground game here. In Ohio's, you got to turn the vote out, and so I think on those measures, she's, I'd say, leaning Clinton, but we've got a lot of work to do, and we've got to continue to hammer away so that we don't lose. I know we're gaining moderate Republicans that are kind of falling in the John Kasich camp of they just can't vote for this guy and they're going to vote for Hillary, especially in a close election. I think if it starts to be a blowout, they may go libertarian just to say they didn't vote for a Democrat. But I know, and I've had a lot of Republicans say to me that if it is close, they're going to vote for Hillary because they can't let him be president. So we're picking up those moderate Republicans, and we've got to make sure that we don't lose some of those working-class Democrats.
Story last week, TPP, the Obama White House, is going to do a real blitz trying to get this passed. I mean, they're not giving up on it. Puts him at direct odds with Hillary Clinton and everybody else who ran for president on the Democratic side. Every union's against it. Most of the Democratic Party is against it. Rhyme or reason, why is he continuing to push this, and why would he want to hand a trade agreement to a president, if Hillary wins, who says she doesn't want it? What's wrong with the Democrats here, Congressman?
Well, I mean, the president clearly has a different view of this. And, they talk about wanting to write the rules in that region and all the rest. But I think there are some real problems with TPP, as does Secretary Clinton. The ability for these kind of global entities to usurp national, state, or local laws that have been put in place regarding the environment, regarding food safety, regarding labor standards, and all the rest.
You think your constituents are against it? Are your constituents against it?
Oh, there's no question. There's absolutely no question, and my constituents would be very energetically against this trade agreement, and I think it's an opportunity for us. I don't know why the president keeps pushing it. Obviously, he believes in it and thinks it's the smart thing to do, so they're going to keep pushing it and try to do it in the last few months, and maybe even in the lame duck session. But it's a real opportunity for us to create a new model for trade, a new standard, a new way of going about it. We keep working off this old model that was started with NAFTA, that at the time we didn't even know what the hell we were doing, really.
Yeah.
So why are we using that as the baseline trade agreement when the world has changed and our economy has changed, and we need to create that new model? So why not give Secretary Clinton an opportunity to get in with the help of Senator Sanders and others to say, okay, what is the new model? We have to trade. We're only 5% of the globe. Yeah. But what's that new model look like?
But we're also the biggest customer, and that's the big thing.
Well, you better create a new model while you have the leverage of being the biggest consumer, because if you get 1.3 or 4 billion people in China and 1.3 or 4 billion people in India, if they become the biggest consumers at some point, then they're certainly going to write rules that are going to fit them. We have the buying power now, so now's the time to make the rules in your favor.
Final point.
Because people want access to our markets.
Yeah. Final point. There was a shooting, I think, in 2014. Tamir Rice got a lot of publicity. There was a task force put together of government and elected officials and community leaders. And some people are suggesting that this is the model that has to be followed nationally to address racial issues. And of course, everybody's watching what's going on in Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now. Do you think that those 600 pages of recommendations that ended up with John Kasich and then new standards were put in place for engaging the public as far as police were concerned, do you think that helped? Is that a model? Was it good? What do you think?
I think it lays out some really strong recommendations that I think can be very, very beneficial. The idea of community policing, interfacing with the police constituencies before there's a problem, having our police officers interfacing with their constituents, the people, the public, before there's a problem, building those relationships, police athletic leagues, the old school ways of having these cops be real leaders in the community outside of just their job, I think is really, really important. The big issue, and it's in Ohio with John Kasich, and it's in a lot of other places, mostly with Republicans, there aren't the resources to get down on the ground and actually help. These Republicans are cutting these budgets for after-school programs, summer school programs, the police athletic leagues. Those are the kind of things that they need public funding in order to really make it go. You need that seed money in the communities, and our friends in Congress, Republicans, are just gutting these programs, and you wonder why, these cities are on fire at times, because there's no relationships and there's not enough money for training. These cops go out every day, risk their lives. After 20 years, you need training. You need downtime. You need support. You need things that cost money. And we've got to get back on track to making those investments. So while the recommendations are good, if there's not some dough to follow, it's not going to work.
Congressman Tim Ryan, great to have you with us, my friend. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, Big Ed.
All
See
right,
you, buddy.
you bet. Congressman Tim Ryan, Ohio. Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSave team bring you Ed Schultz news and commentary. We're back tomorrow.